tricep dips with that bar over there would be considered closed kinetic because the bar is not moving, it's immovable. So in return, that just causes my body to move instead. A progression of the tricep dip movement would be ring dips. Requires more stabilization and is not a stable surface to press off of. So it requires your core and requires essentially your arms to not move as much in order for you to be able to do the same movement. And it still takes place in the sagittal plane. So as you can see, the only base of support I have is the rope hanging onto the bar here. And it requires my arms to be super stable and my core to be stable in order for me to push off that surface of the rings. A regression of the movement to make it easier would be using a bench and letting your legs rest on the floor because you have more added base of support. The leg extension would be considered open kinetic. When I am moving the part of the machine here, my legs are moving in space. A progression of that movement, the leg extension, would be walking lunges. Still in the sagittal plane, and the reason why it's harder is because it requires your body. So you're stabilizing the body as you're taking each step and you're working against gravity, and you don't have a seat to rest off of. And you want to be biasing the leg that's taking the step forward in order to still be utilizing the rectus femoris, which is the muscle that we're using. A regression of that movement would be lying knee raises. So why this would be a regression is because, one, you're having a very short lever arm and you have the whole entire ground as your base of support. So all three movements require me to go into hip flexion to work that rectus femoris muscle. A closed kinetic lower body movement would be body weight squat. Our legs are pushing against the earth, and gravity is pulling us down, we're not strong enough to move the earth, of course, so instead our body just moves up. A progression of the squat would be the Bulgarian split squat. We are turning the squat, which is a bilateral movement, into a unilateral movement. We have less base of support because we are on one leg, and we are using our core to stabilize our body as we are doing the movement. Regression, to make it easier, would be a wall sit. We have a whole base of support, which is the wall, and we're not strong enough to move it. So instead, our legs are pushing against the ground, which is also an immovable surface. An open kinetic upper body movement would be dumbbell bicep curls. It's open kinetic because your arms are moving freely in space while you're moving the dumbbells to do the action. A regression of the movement would be doing the bicep curls while you're seated, and you can choose to use a back support while you're doing it. This is to ensure, because when you're doing the standing one, there's more room for error because you could just be swinging your body in order to do the movement. So when you're using the seat, you're more stable and your core is not needed as much. You have a big base of support with the backrest and the two legs that are sitting on the ground as well. A progression of the movement to make it harder would be a single arm dumbbell preacher curl. Now this is harder because you're turning it into an isolated movement, and there's little room for error because you can't swing it and your arm is resting on the bench, so it is quite a long lever arm.